Newly sworn-in New York Congressman George Santos continues to face bipartisan calls for his resignation after admitting to lying about a multitude of facts in his life. The fabrications include where he went to school, what companies he worked for, knowing people who were killed on 9/11 and in the Pulse nightclub shooting. Well, now there's a new report that says he raised money for a company the SEC later called a Ponzi scheme. Just what could this mean for Santos's political future? For that, we are welcoming in Niall Stanage, White House columnist with our partners at The Hill. Now, first, tell us a little bit about this latest report in the Wall Street Journal.
So this report basically indicates that a company for which Mr. Santos worked was a glorified Ponzi scheme. That is the accusation leveled at it by the SEC. A Ponzi scheme, obviously one where money comes in and is used to pay other investors. It's sort of a chain letter in company form. And that about $17 million was raised for this firm. Now, Mr. Santos is not named in the SEC complaint, but obviously it adds to his troubles.
And with the increasing calls for his resignation, do you see that happening, or will he be finishing out his term, do you believe?
There's no real sign that he is going to bow to these calls for his resignation. Those calls now amount to 8 Republican members of Congress, including many from the New York delegation. He has said he's not going to go. He's getting support of a kind from people like Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who argue that it's up to the voters. So I don't really see him going. The bottom line is he's an embarrassment to the Republican Party, an embarrassment to many members of his party here in Washington, but there's not a whole lot they can immediately do about it.
Is there any way for him to forcibly be removed from office?
Not realistically would be the best way of putting that. I mean, in situations where members of Congress are convicted of actual crimes or something, maybe, but I don't see it there being any real chance of it anytime soon. The only real danger would be if the pressure just got too much for him to resist. So far, he seems quite willing to resist quite intense pressure.
And most of the Republicans asking for him to resign are at a local level in New York. What does need to happen for more in Washington to push for this?
I think there needs to be a sense that he is doing real damage to the Republican Party and to its brand. You know, there is perhaps a hope among some Republicans that this will be a passing controversy and that the political agenda will move on. If they believe that the problems here can be minimized, then they will hold on to that one more Republican vote that Congressman Santos's presence provides.
Niall, very last thing, in about 20 seconds, that new Wall Street Journal report says that Santos convinced at least one person to make a large investment in Harbor City Capital, later called a Ponzi scheme. Santos denying any wrongdoing at this point. If it does turn out that anything criminal actually happened there, is that a potential path forward for his removal?
I mean, I don't see that if he were convicted of a criminal offence, he could plausibly stay in Congress. But, you know, we do have to emphasise, Natasha, there's a long way between where we are now and him being convicted of a crime. Certainly. I mean, he's not even named in the SEC complaint.
Certainly. I'll always appreciate the context and always good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.